Daredevil Born Again stars Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, Deborah Ann Wool, Artie Foshin, Michael Gandolfini, and a ton of other people, and is a continuation of Season 1 of Daredevil Born Again. Matt Murdock and Karen Page resist along with the rest of New York against Mayor Fisk and his vigilante task force. I really enjoyed the first season of Daredevil Born Again. I thought it was fun, I thought the action was great and brutal, and there were some intense moments, but when you compare to the original Netflix show, it is definitely a step down when you compare that season to what seasons 1 to 3 had to offer. Even some moments of the Defenders I felt like were a lot more impactful than stuff in season 1 of Born Again. Not that Born Again was like a mediocre show. I enjoyed it, as I said, but you can't help but feel a bit disappointed coming to that show and seeing just how much was not really done as well as that original Netflix show. It wasn't as consistent, and that is mainly due to the fact that that original first season had two different crews of people wanting to make the show something else. Like, one wanted to be a little bit more fun and a little bit more episodic, while the other wanted to be something that is true to the original Netflix show. And I felt like the latter was the most engaging elements of that first season. Now, that crew can just do whatever they want. They replaced the old crew that apparently did such a bad job that they had to hire the old Netflix crew back. And I gotta say, season 2 of Daredevil Born Again was phenomenal in my eyes. And I can happily say that I can rank this season among season 1 and 3 of Daredevil media. And I thought that it was a lot more consistent, the characters were a lot more engaging, the story was really impactful, especially emotionally, and the finale was something that any Daredevil fan would be happy with. Now, to start off with some negatives, because I do have some negatives here and there, the first couple of episodes definitely still felt like the pre-season of Daredevil. While the new suit is cool and the cinematography and presentation are a major improvement, in terms of the actual pacing and the way the writing is, it felt like the good episodes of season 1, but they weren't anything that wowed me off the bat. But they did at least serve a purpose to the entire story that is explored all the way throughout this season. So these episodes at least did not feel pointless looking back on it, and they did felt necessary to the story for it to be told properly. Another thing that I felt like could have been done better a little bit was Matthew Murdock's hairdo in the flashback episode in the middle of the season. And that is something I'll talk about later, but I'll just say that that wig could use a bit more work, guys. And last, I did feel like there were some moments in these episodes, especially in the later half, to where I felt like they could have been a bit longer and paced out the episodes with a lot more character dynamics, exploring the plot a little bit more. It just felt like we could have used at least another episode to flesh things out a bit, but that is basically all for my negatives. They did not detract from what a great season of television this was. For one, let's just talk about the suit of Daredevil. The black with the double D's looked absolutely awesome on my TV. The colors popped out, the overall way it was utilized in the action, especially with how the cinematography was able to capture this black suit. It literally felt like it was a shadow demon going after all these criminals at points, and it looked fucking sick, man. And what I really enjoyed about this season of Daredevil is how it brought more of the Catholicism that Matthew had from season 1 to 3 of the original Netflix show back a lot more here. While it is something that was prevalent in season 1, I felt like the way his internal conflict, especially with his Catholic faith, was utilized here to progress his character, to make him make hard decisions, I felt like was a lot better utilized here and made Matthew Murdock a very compelling character whenever he has to be in a scene with either Kingpin or Bullseye. Which, talking about Bullseye here, he gets a lot more to do here and is even a more compelling character, as he is someone who is definitely troubled, definitely has lost his mind, but he's on trying to find a path to redemption in his own sick way. Throughout the show, he mentions that he wants to do one good deed, and that will even the scores between him and Daredevil. And you could tell that it is sick the way he goes about this journey, and he's definitely still a bad guy, but you can't help but root for this character a little bit, because he was someone that wanted a peaceful life, is still hoping for that, but it is now too far gone for him, and he just wants at least that little bit of hope. Something that Daredevil is in conflict to try and give him. And it made for a very interesting pair whenever these two characters are on screen. And Kingpin and his wife Vanessa here, who are in charge of New York, how their characters are utilized was something I did not expect. I'm going to go into more spoilers here at this point in the review, because I can't help but gush about this season of television, so beware spoilers from this point on. Now, Kingpin and his wife are doing what they do best in the first few episodes. Not much has changed between them. They're still trying to go out against vigilantes, and his wife Vanessa is having dreams and nightmares of Poindexter, and it does lead to a very engaging climax to the middle of the season, to where at this point we have no idea what's going to happen, because Vanessa is dying. In 2 episodes, Bullseye changed the course of the entire story, and now nothing will be the same. And it is at this point I cannot predict where the story was going to go. The first few episodes was Daredevil and Karen Page doing whatever they can to try and go up against Fisk. They rescue some people who are imprisoned from Fisk. They enlarge their army and try to get more people joining their cause. They are doing whatever they can, but once Bullseye comes into the picture after a really cool diner scene, to where it's a great introduction to his character and what he is going after at this point in the story now, we see him actually take a shot at Vanessa, and it worked. He feels like he was fulfilled, but it leads to the next episode, to where Daredevil and Poindexter have to try and evade the vigilante task force, as Mayor Kingpin is in the hospital with Vanessa looking after her. We cut back to scenes between them, but also integrate a flashback between Foggy Nelson and young Matthew Murdock, trying to help Foggy's old friend and roommate out of a bad situation, and how that conflict is now being integrated into Matthew's role with Poindexter here. And I thought it was just really brilliant the way they told this story in this episode, how we were able to see Foggy Nelson. They even shot the flashback like it was an old episode of Daredevil. From the production design, the lighting, the sets, it all just invoked that old Netflix feel that I thought was sorely missed. But from this point on, And when Jessica Jones is introduced into the picture of the story, that is when things start to get a lot more serious, especially with the character of Blake, who is trying to get into good graces of the Kingpin, but is now having to do some very dark stuff that really conflicts with his character and his friendship with Phoebe, who is the daughter of Ben Urich in the first season of Daredevil. And the way they utilize these characters, that connection with Ben Urich, the little guy still trying to do the right thing when they cannot fight, but inspire all of New York to try and do the right thing, and how that ultimately ends with the death of Daniel Blake, with him having to understand the consequences of his actions and stand up against his partner. It is just some really powerful stuff that at some points really did felt like a gangster mafia film. And considering this is the son of a famous actor in the real world, the way Michael Gandolfini was able to play Blake here, you just get a sense of his likability. You get more of his humanity here, his character, and what is leading him, what is driving him at this point in the story. And you can't help but feel bad for this kid whenever he's put in a very terrible situation. But things start getting really interesting when we head into the finale, when Daredevil is finally revealed to everyone, and at this point he was finally able to prove that Kingpin was responsible for the Southern Cross being sunk, for all the crimes he committed in the previous season, and especially the original Daredevil series, and how he revealed himself as Daredevil was some powerful shit. And then we get this bombastic finale to where New York City dresses up as Daredevil, is on his side, and all go up against Kingpin and his vigilante task force. And this concludes with Matt Murdock and Kingpin having one last deal with each other, which is to leave New York and never come back, and he won't be prosecuted, or Kingpin will stay and he will be jailed for the rest of his life. And Kingpin doesn't want this deal. In fact, a few episodes before, Matt Murdock came with him with a similar deal like that, to where they both leave New York in exile, but Kingpin, after the emotional distraught of losing his wife, is not happy with this deal and doesn't want to leave New York. Despite these two characters' conflict, they share one similarity. They do love New York with all their hearts, and to see them make this deal is something that is truly powerful for the both of them, because at the end of the day, it's that love of their city that really fuels them and the decisions they do. And it made for a very cathartic ending to this entire season. Another part that I do want to gush a little bit about in terms of the character of Kingpin is how in the episode to where we lead up to that first battle between Kingpin and Daredevil, the way they utilize Kingpin's character here, to where he doesn't say any dialogue in that episode until Matt Murdock comes into the picture. He finally speaks in that episode, only in a room with Matt Murdock. It's like he is the only person that makes him complete, that gives him any sort of feeling, to where after his wife's death, immediately the only person he could talk to is Matt Murdock, his arch enemy. It is great character writing that really showcases a lot with both telling and showing us where this character is at in this point in the story. It's moments like this is why I love Daredevil, especially the original Netflix series. I felt like I was watching that same series again with this season. The cinematography, beautiful. The way they utilize colors, the way it was shot, the action scenes, and the way they're helmed is so much better. A lot more impactful and brutal, especially the finale. The finale has got to be some of my favorite Daredevil action of all time. And especially that prison break in episode 3, in that oneer, that was some really creative shit right there. The character of Karen Page and her conflict with Bullseye and everything that has happened in the story is even more engaging of a romance and love interest than whoever that other girlfriend was in season 1, who's now slowly starting to become Muse. And honestly, that character is starting to grow on me a little bit because they are definitely leading to a much darker version of this character that is a lot more engaging in my eyes so far. So I'm really enjoying how this season is also improving upon characters that were introduced in the first season, especially Buck. He feels a lot more engaging as a secondary antagonist and a great partner for Blake and their friendship that ultimately ends in tragedy. Just I can't gush about this season enough, and I am sweating in this cosplay, but it is worth it because I am so happy as a Daredevil fan. And with the way season 3 ended, where Daredevil is in prison, but everyone knows who he is, and he's in the same prison with the vigilante task force that are now getting their comeuppance. It's just some powerful stuff, especially with the cameo of Luke Cage at the end, definitely teasing a return of the Defenders, a tease of Muse in the next season. Is Hand going to be involved? It looks like the vigilante task force is now disbanded. That entire arc is done, but I don't know what's going to happen in season 3. And I'm not going to look at any step photos that's going to tell me something. I don't want to be spoiled that much. But how this season ended this arc of Mayor Fisk, it was truly stunning. It was truly powerful. It was brutal. It was Daredevil Born Again. I'm going to give season 2 of Daredevil Born Again an A. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.